about time, I believe, to start talking about our newest thing we've been doing, which we started this with Villainess a couple of weeks ago, and we did it again for our next show on the block. We're here to discuss how good is. I'm not changing it. It's too
I
late
like how
now.
good is
We're
question
locked
mark.
into how good is.
How good
Uh,
is
keep your hands
how
off
good is
Eizouken. So,
HCI?
so talking about this, if you don't know, a couple of weeks ago, we did this with Villainess, the first season of it. Dodge won a wheel spin to get it to us. And
Shocking
then
nobody.
at the end of last episode, Michael won the wheel spin to get us to Eizouken. Surprise, Mason and I will never win wheel spins on our lives.
Literally
Nope.
never.
uh, if you're interested, and I can finally say this, I have been updating the backlog. Thank Mason yelled at me as everyone should do when I fail to do such things. Our YouTube channel has up every episode of Winter 2021, with the exception of a singular episode I am missing. I don't think you
Sorry.
lose a lot on that one. No, that one's my fault. I didn't download that VOD. Uh, Summer 2021 is up in full. Uh, Fall was already up. But fall of 2020 was already up. Summer's all up, which was this past season. So if you haven't seen some of that and want to check out how last season went ranking wise, that's up in its entirety. And then spring is coming. Spring 2021 is coming. I have to edit the first episode together because that we had a stream episode. The first episode we had a disconnect on my internet, so I have two vods for it. So I have to just edit the two vods together, which just takes a little more time, and I'll have all of that posted. But that also means the Villainous episode is up, so you can check that out for this as well. And this will hopefully go up in a couple of days right after we're done with that, so it'll be up in time to just check out if anyone doesn't have time to stick through the entirety of the episode. With that in mind, we sit down, we watch a show that aired not recently, well, not in a season, well, or just not wasn't watched by us in
A show that we feel
particular.
like watching as a
Yeah,
group, honestly, is what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
it really does.
Yeah.
And this was Michael's, so I mean, Michael, if you want to tell us a little bit about Eizouken, and then we will go around and talk about what we knew going into Eizouken and how each of our experiences differed, and then we'll just start. We'll take it from there after that, I think.
So, Eizouken is a fun little 12 episode romp that follows three girls, all in middle school, I think. I'm not sure. It doesn't particularly matter. Because even if they were in high school, they're still one of them's still way too fucking mature for their age. Who create a anime club in quotation marks. It's technically the term Eizouken. I don't know how to start this. Term Eizouken translates generally to motion pictures club or film club or film research club or something. It changes every time it fucking appears as a subtitle. But essentially, they want to make anime, but the one girl model and her parents said, at least her mom goes, or dad, her dad goes, no, that's not allowed. So she joins the film club where they make an anime because the actual anime club that exists on campus doesn't actually make anime, they just watch it like most anime clubs do. Um so the show's split into three essentially arcs. Each of them are 4 episodes and each arc spans them creating a different piece of film and animation. The first is a little battle between a girl with a machete and a tank. The second is a mech kaiju fight, and the third is humans versus kappas, but it's also kind of like framed as like an alien invasion. But they were like, but why aliens? Why not kappas?
XYZ.
And it was like, that's cool. Um, the show does a fun thing where the characters will just be like sitting there talking, and then they'll just start thinking about how they're gonna like animate something, and their brains go into animation mode, and it gets into this really like roughly drawn kind of thing where they're like going through these like fantasy worlds as they're coming up with them. And as my nickname in the Discord says, they they start voice acting the noises for everything, and it's real cute. My nickname in Discord is currently helicopter noises in asterisks. Um Yeah, those bits are really good, really cute as they just do a bunch of funny sci-fi things. They're like, wait, oh no, the ship can't do this thing. Ah, I guess we'll just draw it in now. And it's like, wow, now there's hatches to get out of this thing. And it's real fun. And it's just a really good time. The
Now,
show's adorable.
Michael and I have a uniquely different experience from Dodge and Mason in that we watched this on a season of the podcast that the some VODs for it are up, I think. I have to see
Yeah.
how many of those files I still have. I should technically have most of them. And those will be the journey next because that was before we streamed and before we did live cam, so that's just pure audio for that season. But because this was winter 2020, so we were doing this was kind of the restart of us doing this podcast. So it was me, Michael, Elvis, Alex, Nathan, and Dylan. All six of us were on this season. Um, and we hit a what we got to episode 7.
Yeah, I think we got through 7
We got through
before it
7
ended up getting
episodes
voted
of it,
off.
which meant we didn't finish the second arc in its entirety, and then the show got voted off. And myself, Michael, and Alex were the 3 who did not vote it off that season. So for me, I already had 7 episodes worth of content to come into Eizouken, knowing that I was gonna like it, knowing what it did and how it did it, just not knowing how it was gonna end. So really, for me, this was a finish out a show that I've always wanted to go back to, but never had the chance to. That Michael's always yelled at me to go back to because he likes it, and see how I feel about its ending, and kind of retrospectively see if I'm as mad as Michael about it getting voted off early, because I was kind of like, no, I wasn't as passionate back then when when good shows got voted off by bad opinions, but after recent experiences with Vanitas on the other side of the podcast, I am much more I am much more ready to be angry. Um, yeah,
Sure.
I don't think Eizouken. I think Eizouken met all my expectations that I had going into it. So, and I'll talk more about that when we go through. Everything okay? Everything okay, Daj?
Mason,
What did you
hate
do?
you. Where'd you find that? Oh, you did not just drop that, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did.
anime card game.
Oh, they're playing anime card game.
Anime
You-
card game.
I dropped a card in the other server,
Damn.
picked it up, and then proceeded to put it
At
in the
me.
Weeb card game chat and at John. I was just waiting to see his reaction.
It's okay.
It was
It's okay.
wonderful.
I got a one up on him though, because I got a better girl from the same
Ugh.
manga. So the recent quick sidetrack before we start talking about Eizouken again is anime card game recently dropped Oshinoko cards, and ED2 comes out in like 2 weeks. But yeah, so that's why I just posted one of a different character in that later. Well, you guys should be reading that.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I know. Michael, do you want to talk since you're the other one and it's your show? I mean, you were the one rewatching this show.
I mean, I finished it out weekly that season because that season I had like literally fucking thousands of hours of free time. Apparently, I finished like half of the shows that season that got voted off. Like I watched them as they were coming out. I really enjoyed the show all the way to the end. It's just a really fun time. It's one of those shows that doesn't have any amount of conflict really. Like there are times where it's like, oh,
something's gonna happen.
such with the production of anime, things will come up like deadlines coming up faster than expected because animating things with a group of 2 people is kind of slow, especially when only one of them actually does character drawing and the other person only does backgrounds. The third person being the manager who does all the money stuff and the talking. My god, Kanamori is fucking wonderful.
Is fantastic.
Yeah, this cast is really good. By the end of the second arc, we get a 4th member who's not as important with Domiki, who is the member of the sound
It's the sound club.
yeah, it's like the sound research club, who becomes the person who does the audio work because the sound club's getting taken away because there's only one person in it and they take up like 5 storage rooms. And Domiki's also one. This entire cast is absolutely wonderful. They have such good chemistry together. The show's great.
Dodge Mason, if you guys want to talk about what you knew going into this.
I knew the opening, and I knew it was about girls making anime, and that was basically it. And I knew that it was one of the highest rated anime of 2020. That was all I knew. I went into it thinking that Kanamori was going to be the main character, just because of watching the opening and how they focus on Kanamori a little bit in the opening, but like not really. Um, and then it turns out it wasn't Kanamori. Like very, very, very technically, it's Asakusa who is the main character, but like they focus on all the characters equally, essentially. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they each get a moment they each get like one big moment in an arc, and then in the long run, obviously Asakusa gets a little more. I think probably gets the most, just
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
big main character.
yeah.
Our anime. Fucking comrades joke.
It is our
kills me.
anime, comrade.
That hasn't
Uh,
stopped this season, by the way. We've had there's been a lot of comrade this season too.
Yeah, Frig note. Well, that's because one of our shows literally takes place in Russia. So
Oh, that's
Ash,
true too.
what was yours? What was your experience?
Very similar to Mason. I knew the opening from AMQ, and I knew that it was about making anime, and I knew it was really, really, really well received and like highly rated. But I didn't really know much about that outside of that. So I came in pretty blind for it, and I was really pleasantly surprised with how like really good it was. Like I knew it was gonna be good, but I didn't expect it to be that good. And yeah, it was just that. Like it was a really, really good experience. And I had a very like minimal knowledge about it. I love the art style of it. I know it's a lot of people that talk about is like how good it looks as a show, and I think they do a really, really good job of like showing that throughout the entire thing. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
To note for people listening, yeah, Eizouken had like I think I counted it. It was upwards of 7, if not more, nominations in its year's anime awards. It won 2 of them for best director and best. I want to say it was sound.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, its
Yeah.
director definitely got it, and then it got another one of the 2 awards, and it was up for best anime. Um,
Yeah.
it said something about it for how good it was, for how many awards it was up there for. So we went into this basically there was an expectation for this to be really good, and I don't think any of us are gonna disagree and say it was bad.
Not at all.
We all really enjoyed watching this
Yeah.
together, I think.
It is a very good time.
So I mean, we can
Absolutely.
start talking about things we like.
Um, I mean,
The
so
show.
yeah, the show.
Yeah.
Um,
Episode
so
7.
so I am a very big proponent of not proponent, but I really enjoy it when shows move away from the like industry standard, like perfectly nice looking, and do odd art styles. And Eizouken did like 90% of this anime was in an art and in a weird art style, and it was wonderful. Um, I like that, and also the music in the show is fantastic. I didn't expect the ending to go that hard. Um, but yeah, show was very good.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I didn't expect the show to go that hard. Um, it definitely is one of those openings that you cannot skip. It is a rule, and I think it's definitely like really, really cool to like watch the entire like game play out and everything, and like watch the development of basically the development of an anime. It was really really well done, and I think the characters were really, really enjoyable. They're really expressive, and I had a good time watching just the characters interact with each other. Was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, these girls are wonderful. Um, I mean, I think they each do a good job of capturing something about the essence of making a product. Um, uh, you know, Kanamori being the one who kind of captures the business side of things, and when you hit the third arc and we get into her background of like just how her brain worked as a child and what she did as a child, it is surprisingly uh refreshing to have that little bit about her, even though she really doesn't need it. Like she's a perfectly fine character without any background about who she was or why she acts the way she does, and that episode just works really well for her. The other two characters, uh, Asakusa resonates with me on a very strong level as someone who is a creative and was a very imaginative child and who's tried to make it a goal to not lose that as an adult, despite what some people might tell me I should do. there is a very strong resonance with me about the idea of just envisioning things in your brain and acting them out, voicing them out, giving them life and imagining that, and that is the entirety of Asakusa's character. And then Misasaki gets some, probably in my opinion, the most in-depth and the best background for her character in terms of why she's where she is. And that episode where they talk about her grandmother is incredible.
So it's 7's so fucking good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, like Asakusa, as of the three, Asakusa probably gets the least actual backstory stuff developed. Because Asakusa is just kind of the gremlin that is very childish, but has very good ideas and somehow has a really solid grasp on like general science and physics to like
Yeah.
understand how machines work. It's really funny because whenever she like makes a machine, she'll be like, "Fuck, it can't work that way, so I have to do the slight difference." Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to make just
It
enough
has to make
sense.
sense.
Yeah. Like I specifically remember the whole bit with the butterfly like airplane thing.
Yeah.
Like that whole bit where she's like drawing or redrawing it in her head is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Asakusa's wonderful little gremlin. We love her so much.
Yes.
Must protect.
Um,
She protect. Who attack? It's
Kanamori.
Kanamori attack.
Kanamori.
Thank you. My failure to remember names is
But
without parallel.
most importantly, Muzasaki got the back.
True.
I brought it up while we were watching it fairly early. I'm curious to know what the rest of the group thought about the comparison that Mizaki is just fucking Nobara and Nozomi as characters we've experienced before, just parts of them.
I mean, I think it's just a look of like the short hair, like with bangs style, that like, and like the hair brushed over, like I have, where it's just like it just looks like that character, like,
Yeah.
and you're just like, it's that person, and then everyone else just goes, shit, it is that person. Fuck,
True.
big if true.
True.
But yeah, no, I think she's a great character. I love her design. I like whenever she's doing stuff, and like I like how they use her like fame as like a like not like a tool, but like as a resource. I guess it's hard to like say it without saying it, but they don't overabundance it. And then you have like the extra of everything with like the student council and like how extra the environment of the school is with clubs. That was really good and holistic for the entire show.
I don't know what to even like talk about right now. Because the show's just like
It's just
real good.
quality.
It's
Yeah, it's just a
like,
real fun time.
Which one of the three animations that they did was your guys' favorite? Because
The first one.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
it was the first one.
Yeah, the first one definitely hits different.
Yeah.
Because I think the coolest thing about the first one is like, for one, the concept is sweet. The character design for that one character is really sick. The music they use during the animation is really well done. I think the whole thing with the first animation is that it feels really smooth. Like there are certain movements to it that just look really sick, and that's the only thing I can use to describe it. It's just a really sick animation.
Yeah.
It's very crisp. It's very short and to the point, so you get to watch all of it, and you watch the entire process. Is the biggest thing for me. Like you see from start to finish, you see that entire project come together, including like the cuts and everything, and it's really really cool. And it makes you as like a viewer feel attached to this project, right? Because you've been here the entire journey just as much as the characters have, and I think that does have an effect on the actual like thing itself.
Which
is yeah.
Quick thing, since we're talking about it, I'm really glad that this show does the thing that Remake Our Life didn't do, which is actually show us the fucking animations that they make.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say it.
And we see like all of it. Like there isn't a part where they leave any of it out.
Literally episode 12, 2/3 of it being just the animation that they make.
I definitely like the first one best as an animation. The first project. I think to me it's not even a flack on the other two. It's just that the other two serve different purposes in the show. Where that first animation I think is meant to be the one where you're like, oh fuck, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
like the second one's meant to have a more emotion. Like you're meant to emotionally understand like what they've been through, in terms of making it and how it connects with people. And the third one I can't put over the first one because it is the singular part of the show where I kind of have some gripes. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll talk about that whenever we want to segue into that bit. But
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, the first one, like, I have no, like, that is such a clean. I would love to watch more of that. Even just that short expanded.
Just that.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking cool. And we talked about like they used black and white because budget, but how well it works in that moment is so
Yeah.
cool.
I also really like the stuff they do, like connected to it, when like the way the audience is experiencing it.
Yeah.
Where the one person like is sitting there, they look down, and all of a sudden they blink, and the ground turns into the ground of the animation. The one dude looks to his left, and it's just a fucking tank shell in the curtain.
That
And
was
he
so
blinks and rubs his eyes like 4 times, and it's still there. He's like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
I
What?
also think that
Wait, what?
presentation to the to like the student council is really good.
Yeah, it's just them
The
laying their animation dick on the table, just like, all right, look at it.
the entirety of that scene is incredible. The bait that is just the you gave them the go to just show it now, right? You've locked yourself in. Okay, cool. Let them show it. You're trapped.
Literally, like, no, you can't just shut us down without even seeing what we've done. See the fruit of our labors and see why we did the shit that we did.
I also really like the portions of the show where they go to explore, to brainstorm, or to flush out the ideas they have. I think those are by far where the show shines.
Where they're not even in the animation room,
Yeah.
they're in like the laundromat or the ramen shop. Yeah.
Mhm. Like when they and also like when they run around and like they're investigating the terrain. I think as much as I have issues with the third project, their brainstorming and planning for it, I loved every second of them exploring like the predominant, like the majorly sunken area or like overly flooded section of the town. Like I think a lot of that stuff is really cool to see, and it's for a show that's so focused on animation, the world where they are doing the animation is really cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
For sure.
The town that they're in is it's just so fucking cool looking.
Which is why it makes it such a good set piece for the final animation, and they use
Yeah,
the entire
make it
town.
such a good set
It-
piece for just all of both the second and third.
Yeah.
The second takes place in their town, mainly their school, but it's still part of their town. It's just an absolutely wild fucking location.
Okay. Which did any of y'all, because their town reminded me of something and it gave me very much nostalgia, but like, did any of y'all have an imagination station near you?
I
Nope.
did not.
Okay.
No.
So imagination stations were these wooden playgrounds that were fucking labyrinths. Hold on.
Now we need to go find one.
Let me find here. I found an image. Here we go. I'm sending it to the group now. They're these things. And they were the greatest thing ever to play hide and seek in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Something similar things, yeah.
Oh,
I never
I've
heard
seen
the
these,
term
yeah.
imagination station used.
Never
Yeah.
played hide and seek in them because that required having friends, but
A closer, a
Yep.
better version of this is this one. I know those of you who are watching cannot see this,
I'm pulling
but
them up. Don't worry.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's a much better one because of the fact that you can see it is weirdly laid out.
Splinter Central, let's
But
go.
that's actually no, because all of the wood was actually like varnished well enough. But
I never played those as a kid.
so that was what that town reminded me of, was one of those, and we had one in the next town over, and we would go there all the time and play hide and seek with like any of the daycares that I was at, and it just very good nostalgia.
Good nostalgia feel.
But
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I guess we can start shifting over to the not so greats about the show. I guess I can start. My biggest gripe probably comes from the fact that this show doesn't have any central like conflict or any real like stakes most of the time. So the ending is just kind of
there.
they watch they watch their third animation and they go, wow, Asakusa's asleep. Guess we're gonna leave. And it ends with Asakusa waking up and saying the thing we all expect. She's going, still have got a lot of work to do, and it just kind of ends. It's going, yeah, and then they kept making anime essentially.
The
It
end.
just kind of goes on.
Yeah, this might build off that, because this might stem from that problem. But I think I think the entirety, the last section where they play the audio clip and the sound doesn't match, and the person who sent them the audio did something that they weren't expecting because it doesn't match the visuals they have, and they change and adjust the story's ending, feels so odd. It like I don't want to. It's not it's not bad. It doesn't like majorly upset me. It just seems like such a non-issue of like a we just put this here because they needed to be some kind of conflict for this project, and the conflict couldn't have just been that the school tried to stop us, but the entire town rallied behind us, and then we just have a happy ending. No, we have to have something else pop up to make conflict. And I don't know, like it felt really silly to me, and I didn't really get why we had to go through it. I also guess because I didn't inherently also think that the song was entirely ill-fitting, the one they had. And I also might just not be the biggest fan of that animation in particular because that is probably their one that has the most narrative in terms of how they constructed. But then when you watch it, it feels like it has the least clear narrative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
That's funny.
there's a lot that
Like
happens in that
it's
animation.
really cool. I like the ideas they are going with and all the parallels in it. But for sure, as like a closer to the show, if is a little underwhelming for me.
Yeah.
So the thing that bothered me a bit too was the whole they made a big deal at one point about going around the town and getting voice actors
Mhm.
for the third animation, and then the third animation is just music. It does not have voice acting.
Yeah,
I didn't even think
It's
about
like,
that,
they do
why?
not have voice acting at all in it.
which I
That's
imagine
like,
could
least
be
from what
because
we see.
they had to switch to do the two scenes as opposed to the one,
At
and they
least from
just
what we see too. We don't know how long the whole thing was because we
yeah
got like
they also
most
just might not
short
have
thing.
played like audio like dialogue audio. Maybe there was some, and in that regard, it's a better product than that. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe, but I don't know.
I do.
It's go ahead.
I want to do an experiment where I show someone who hasn't watched the show just the third animation section in full, like just the bit, and see if they can interpret the story fucking at all. Because the only reason we have any idea what's happening for most of it is because we've seen Asakusa explain it for the past 3 episodes.
Yeah.
She's been
Yeah.
explaining exactly what the story is going to be. Faction wars between the Kappas, the amphibious people who got shoved underwater due to garbage dumping or something, and then garbage dumping caused them to like have to fight back, and then submarine squid UFOs fight against the human funny flying things, and but like there's this connection between this bell thing that we only half see them do anything with. That's like a communication system that gets all broken up and they fix it, but also like everyone's still angry at each other because war never changes. Blah blah blah.
War never changes.
It's just a lot that happens, and without any voice acting and a piece of music that fits weird, it does fit if you think of it as a like a very somber story where a lot of sad things happen. It's just a lot of death,
But apparently
war,
that
and
wasn't what they
stuff.
were going for with the
Yeah,
original
that's not
one.
what they wanted. So they had to switch it over to that, which is why probably the voice acting couldn't be used. They didn't have time to like get new lines. It's a
I mean, we don't know. They just kind of
Yeah.
gloss over it. They don't even mention anything about the voice acting at all.
yeah.
Like,
We like see bits of them recording stuff because we see a bit of them in like a recording studio, like once. Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely fell off at the end. Is the biggest issue with this show. Like the first arc was outstanding, like the first 4 episodes, and then like episode 7, it's like peaking, and then like it just really kind of fell off in the last arc. I think it got a little rushed at the end of like, all right, we had pardon me, two really good like sections of the show, right? Like, how do we conclude it without just doing the same thing, right? Um,
I think it would have been really cool if, since the beginning of that arc for this project focuses on Kanamori, if like you just let Kanamori kind of like do her thing and succeed, and like not get kind of stopped in her place for a bit like she does, and also if some aspect of this project related to Kanamori's like ability to do this. Like if one of the characters was very Kanamori and where they were like, well, this has to happen. Like if there was like a more tie to the group, I think it would have been a stronger final project and final finish because like the other two projects are so innately tied to the rest of the cast that like this one you're like, cool, they just made this and it's cool and like that's
Yeah.
great, but like there's no emotional crutch for me to like grab onto besides they succeeded in making this.
They've already succeeded, so like, what is the
Yeah.
point of this project?
Yeah,
Right?
and the
The-
issue is that like they don't have a big issue and conflict with it except for the one it's just the end of episode
Yeah.
11, which is, oh no, they got the wrong audio file and Asakusa decided not to listen to it for 2 weeks because she's a little gremlin.
Which, again,
Oopsie, she make a mistake.
It seems like such an oversight for characters that have been so on the ball the rest of this like
Like you're
show that it
telling
felt
me
like a really weird
Kanamori
oversight.
wouldn't have
Kanamori
double
wouldn't
checked on
check in with that, yeah,
like
or anything like that.
and it's one of those things where I don't know, I feel like you could have just run with the plot point of again the school's trying to stop them from making a profit but the town's like, no, we actually support this, let them do it, and you just instead of having those scenes where they have to like scrap by to fix this audio issue you've made, you just have scenes where like the student council and the school like apologizes and like talks to Kanamori, and it feels like the vice president character had something building and then we just kind of dropped it because she kind of like
Yeah,
stands
where
as
did she
this
go in the last arc?
she seems like this in between where she's like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do, I don't hate it, but I also have to abide by the rules here, and then she hangs with them while they're like getting work done, and it seems like she's like gonna be kind of like a cool person who's like into their work, and she just disappears.
Yeah.
It's really weird, yeah, for sure. But like, and it's not to say the show wasn't great at all, but like, I definitely think it left a bit to be desired at the end there, and that was like the only like unfortunate thing about it, because the rest was just so good that like it's like, oh, well, I mean it was good, but like it could have been great. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
it just kind of ends and you're like, oh, damn,
It definitely, unlike like comparing it to the last show we like talked about with the villainous, where it like was kind of like a steady up, right? There was no real like, it had the same feel of like the last arc, which is kind of like a sudden like dip in quality compared to the rest of the show. Like it still does everything it usually did right, but it just something was missing in that last section. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It missed the magic.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
has a lot of magic in it. I don't know if we've talked enough about this as we probably should have, but we all fucking love this show's OST.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
there are
It's
multiple
so
there are
fucking
at
good.
least 2 songs in this OST that as soon as they play, you go, fuck yeah.
We did.
Hell
And
Yeah.
for
Serotonin.
and for me, one of them was we watched episode 1, they played the song, I went, oh fuck yeah, this exists. This is like my
Serotonin's on
favorite
the
thing on
brain.
on the planet.
Then me and Sean turned and smiled at each
There's like,
other because I could tell. Such a good fucking song.
So the song for me that always got me was the song that plays when they're when they
Yes.
start brainstorming. Just like every single time I hear it, I start like tearing up a little bit because it's just so wonderful and it fits the mood so
Mhm.
well.
It just because we had that little bit of negative, I was like, yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this. This is something that I know we all
Yeah.
loved. We all
Yeah,
fucking
we
loved
mentioned
this,
it. We
but
didn't really talk a ton, but yeah, this show's OST and just general sound design is amazing.
It
Ooh,
is
that's
so
pretty good.
So
Ooh.
speaking on sound design away, by the way,
Nerd.
since I am the sound nerd,
Uh-huh.
I absolutely love that when they are doing brainstorming sessions, all of the sound effects that are made in that like that headspace that they're in are all like made by them. Where it's like you'll hear like they'll do a helicopter noise and it's like like they make effects themselves and it's so cute and it works so well. I just love it. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. The
I
sound
will-
design was
Great
incredible
serotonin.
in this show, where it's like the characters are like, it was a combination of like the background noise of the actual show and the characters themselves making the noise themselves. And I fucking loved those bits when they're like while they were creating stuff. Like that was some of the best parts of the entire show for me. Was just like them like doing what we all do, which is like make our own sound effects for our life, right? And narrating our own life to a degree. But in this case, adding their own sound effects and adding their own like characterizations towards what's going on in their environment. It was really well done.
Dodge and I both had a similar moment in like episode 10 or 11 where they do the bit with Domoki and they do like her cutting sound and that bit is so fucking cool looking.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know why we do it. I don't know why it lasts as long as it does, but it looks fucking insane.
Yeah, it's really good. It like that whole bit. I think I didn't say a single word during
Yeah.
that bit because like I was just so invested in it because it hit my sound nerd brain and it was just pure serotonin.
There was
It
also
was
the part, the
wonderful.
other really big one that I know Mason and I both were like, "Oh, this is fucked up. I hate this." Was when they're trying to get Domiki to work with them, and they're like, "Yeah, here's our sound effects for walking," and they walk across different surfaces, and it plays the same walking sound, and Mason and I both wanted to gouge our eyes out.
It hurt me so much. Like we were all watching it together, and I just started going off on a huge rant about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if
It's
like a show did that while we were watching it, like, and it was an actual like flaw with the show, I might vote that show off
Yeah,
immediately if its sound
legitimately.
design fails like that, and it's like audibly noticeable. Oh man.
Mhm.
It's like painful.
Where it's like, because they show where it's like we're walking on concrete and it sounds fine, and then they go to dirt and it just sounds the same. You're just like, oh
And they do
no.
grass, and they
And
do
then they do grass.
gravel, and when you get to gravel, you're finally done. You're like, I
Yeah.
can't.
and then they hit mud and it just goes ah.
Like they hit mud and I'm like,
Not
and
the
then they hit
sound that
gravel and I'm like,
makes.
And I love it because it's very clear that Domiki literally fucking
Yeah.
throws up because of it. It's wonderful. It's so well
it's
done.
about where I was at too, because it
Anymore.
hurts so fucking badly to listen to and watch.
Ingy.
I also just love like the tiny little bits of like background things that aren't like super important. Like, I mean, it gets mentioned in the show, but Domiki at the convention center when they're like showing off when they're like selling their final thing, just sitting in the background with the mic up, just recording noise,
Yeah.
just general crowd noise, because general crowd noise at convention could be really helpful when you, because it's just what if you
It's-
need it.
A
Yeah,
good noise is good noise.
The fact like sound libraries, especially the one that Domiki has, are a incredibly useful and expensive thing.
Was it 37 or 57 sounds from?
It was 37 different sounds for
Just the waterfall.
yeah, for a waterfall. And that's legitimately what it is because in like when I was in school, one of my first projects was or one of my final projects for one of my exam classes was a do whatever. So we ended up making an audiobook of a comic book. And when you are trying to find sound effects that fit a comic book, there are
You gotta get creative.
there are 8 million different punch sound effects that I saw in just one library.
Oh, the
And
part where
someone
they.
had oh god.
Finish. No, you finish.
Well, and the fact, and if you think about it, that is 8 million different like sounds that someone had to record and make. And just getting to that point, just imagine time invested into that and the equipment and all that.
I
It's yeah.
I remember the episode where it's the same episode as the lack of footsteps one, but where they play the sound effects that they have, and you're like, damn, I know those stock sound effects.
Yep. It's literally like,
The
oh
fucking
hey.
cicada sound effect that's in every single anime fall
Yep.
season. Every single goddamn one has the exact same cicadas, and it's my biggest tilter in anime. It's like, I don't even want to hear the cicadas. Just show me them, and I can hear them already. Like,
Straight up.
you don't need to even have a sound effect.
Straight up, they one of the sound effects they had, it was a splash sound effect, and I've used the exact same sound effect in a project before.
I also love when they did the goofy getting hit sound effect. It was just like
Yep.
the woo. I was like, God damn it.
Fine.
Boing.
I mean, if we wanna do this, do we wanna compare it to last season?
Yeah,
I think there's a very good chance, in my opinion, this would have made top three. I
I
think
agree.
it would have made top three. I don't know if it would have. I don't know. I don't think it would have won out in the season for
So
me.
I think it would have made life, or it would have been made remake go a lot sooner than it already did. Because
Yeah.
watching this next to remake makes remake look awful, if I'm being fully honest.
I don't
do-
think
they
it's
try to do two
awful, but they
very
do very
different
different things. Yeah.
Fair, but
The
it's
stuff that
still
I get you, Mason, because the stuff that I really liked early in Remake is stuff that Eizouken does really well. So for
yeah,
me, I would have
that's
been like, damn,
exactly
I'm
it.
only here for the romance. I guess this means it's better than Girlfriend still. And that would have been
Yeah,
my brain.
And that ain't saying much.
yeah. So I think this definitely would have like shifted our rankings around a bit, but I think this probably could have beaten out Realist Hero. Um, and personally, I think it would have beaten out Sunny Boy. I don't know if it would have beaten out Vanitas for me.
I don't think this show. I think it gets into top 3, but I think it's worse than Sunny Boy. Like, in my opinion, just because I think the last arc of this was worse than the ending of Sunny Boy for me. Like, just in terms of like the overall like show quality as well. Like, I think they're close, but I think Sunny Boy's like highs were higher. Um,
There.
and I think the show peaked like just below it, right? So it's like it's hard to say because like I really liked Realist, and I especially loved reading Realist more than anything. Um, and like I like that it did something different for its genre. So it's really hard to compare these shows that are very much like different like types of shows. But for me, it probably like it either like just misses top 3 at like number 4, or it like sneaks into top 3 over Realist, probably. But I don't think it wins by any means. I think it's like just a top 3 finish for it somewhere in there.
I think for me, it definitely breaks top 3. And I think it is. It would have to be in the moment. I could not tell you right now whether in the moment I would put this over Sunny Boy. I think my brain now though says it's probably better. It's better than Sunny Boy for me personally. But I think in the heat of the season it'd be a really tight call for what would get 2 and 3 for me between them.
Yeah, God, this is a
This
weird
is
choice
gonna
for
be
me.
fun to hear from
Yeah,
you.
yeah, because I think the show is probably better than Sunny Boy, but I don't think it's better than Vanitas.
Wild,
But
isn't
Yeah.
that?
which because they do very different things, I think this does a lot of what Sunny Boy's trying to do better for parts of it. I do think Sunny Boy has a much stronger end, even though its end is a little bit wonky. It actually has an end. Well, Vanitas doesn't exactly have an end. It doesn't try to have an end right there. It just kind of is a we're cutting it off here so more can happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This did by itself make me change my Sunny Boy ranking down to a 9 because my brain went I'm like Eizouken. I'll say it now. I don't have Eizouken as a 10. I have it as a 9 because I think it does a lot of things really well. But there are bits that are just kind of like the show isn't in that top tier, and my brain went, but there's no way I'm putting this an entire tier below Sunny Boy.
Yep.
That just doesn't work.
This is the best part of anime rankings is when you have a score for something and you have something else that comes along. You're like, man, this really reframes that other show for me, huh? And you have to adjust how your rankings look.
Yeah.
That happened to me with Skate. I had to move Skate way further. I was like, damn, I'm like high on how high I think that show is. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Eizouken's a 9. I think it's a solid 9. I have it in reference to shows that season. That season when we did it on the podcast, it invaded 1. Right? It was
Yes.
id, Dorohedoro, then Somali.
Yes.
I stand by that. I think as much as I know you, Michael, have an issue with id's ending, I think id's ending ends and like still wraps up its story. And I think a lot of the shit id does is really cool, and I really like that show. And it has, in my opinion, moments in it that in terms of sound design, scenery, are just as incredible, but like they're literally right fucking next to each other on my 9s. So like it definitely beats out Dorohedoro. But Dorohedoro is also still a 9 for me. So like
It's not saying much.
it falls into my 9 category of just really good shows. So
So
Go ahead.
I rated this a 9.5. Because I do point five
Damn,
on
guys.
rankings.
Yeah.
I really fucking enjoyed this show. The only reason it's not a 10 is because I reserve 10s for shows that made me cry. So like for reference, I know for a fact Your Lie in April is in my 10s list. What else is there? One Piece is in my 10 list. The Bunny Girl movie is in my 10 list. Your Name is in my 10 list. It's like Violet Evergarden is in my 10 list. Also Gakuen Handsome, but that's a meme.
Hell yeah.
How can you not love a really shitty MS Paint visual novel turned anime where one of the bad endings is man goes on a stabbing spree with his chin? Show's wonderful. Anyways, um, so it doesn't hit me with a 10 because it didn't make me cry. However, I love this show to death. It does everything that I enjoy in anime that is like really good sound design, really good OST, weird art style that works for it super well, really good characters, and just doing like we're gonna do this thing. Okay, we're gonna show you the thing. Like I love this show. I'm very glad we watched it.
For me, I actually like the only one who rated this kind of low, I guess. And I'll explain my reasoning for in a bit here. So like I also do half rankings, but I put this at an 8, and here's why. Like you said, when comparing it to other shows, where would I put it is kind of like how I like judged it. And like I said, the ending didn't feel great for me, and I put it, pretty much on par with Sunny Boy. So I put it, I have Sunny Boy as an 8 as well. Um, Other shows I have at 8 are like things like Kill la Kill, things like Erased. I bumped it down to an 8 because it has some issues with it. Things like Akudama Drive, I have an 8. For examples, and things I have above it, things in like the 8.5 tier is like your Wotakois, Vanitas, Steins Gate, Bunny Girl, right? And then you go even higher to like the 9s, and that's where stuff like really, really like just start to finish is just balls to walls nuts, right? Like my 9 tier is pretty exclusive for me in terms of shows. I think I'm still like under 10 or close to 10 shows, and those are 86, Code Geass 2, Brotherhood, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kaguya 2, Tower of God, and Vivi, right? I don't count Snafu because that's my personal like bias, and I know that. But I have Snafu 2 and 9 as well. And so like in the 8.5 tier, it's hard to put it in that tier as well because I don't think it quite like is better than Sunny Boy or like a lot of my other 8s. Um, and I think like 8 is very fair for me. I do think it did a lot of really good things well. Um, but I won't say it was like my favorite show or my most enjoyed show. Um, and I wouldn't put it above some other things in 8.5s. I wouldn't put it above Horimiya personally. I thought it was just, different like characterizations. I wouldn't put it above Kisniver. Because again, shows that make me cry get bonus points. That's just how it works. I wouldn't put it above like ReZero. So I think 8 for me is a really fair ranking because it does do a lot of things really unique and really different, and it's better than the majority of things I rate. But I don't want to put it like above Sunny Boy, and I think that kind of keeps it at the A tier for me.
That's fair. I'm not afraid to put it above Sunny Boy, which is why it breaks in the 9 for me.
I didn't say I was afraid to do it. I just don't
No,
want
no,
to because I don't
mean,
think it's
I
better.
mean, in my regard, I think it is better, just in my own
Yeah.
personal like opinion of viewing it. And like in that same regard, like it goes above stuff that like I've really liked on this podcast. In the past. So like I obviously think that Skate was really good, and I think I hold by that. I think it deserved the season it got. But I also have it in Horimiya right next to each other. I have this above both of them. I enjoy Eizouken far more than I enjoy both of those shows. So like this breaks 9 in that regard. Akudama's down at an 8 for me, and I still think Akudama's incredible. But I definitely think this show does something different than Akudama does that earns it that spot. Whereas like stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen in its full 2 seasons, definitely it's not better than that. Like that's high 9. Jujutsu Kaisen's almost a 10 on my list. It's missing that little oomph.
No,
which
don't
I'm
worry,
sh-
season 2 will
Oh,
be.
I know. I'm sure it's gonna get it. I'm ready for it. It'll be great.
Oh, you're not ready.
It's gonna do the exact same thing that Slime did for me, where like the first season of Slime is really good. It's a 9. It's not a 10. Season 2 of Slime, that's a fucking 10.
Oh,
At least part 2, in my opinion. The second half, even the first half.
Season 2
of
part
season
2 is so
really good.
fucking good.
And season 2 part 1 is incredible, but part 2 is just like, yeah, no, this is fucking. This might be pinnacle isekai for me. It's but I really liked Eizouken. I'm really happy we watched it. I'm happy, I get to actually finish it. It feels good.
I still feel good actually finishing a show.
Yeah, always. Mason. That means it's just obviously we're not gonna do the next one for a bit, but it's just you and me.
All right.
It's between the
Let's-
two of us. Do you want to pull it up?
Yeah, I'll
We
pull
get,
it
we
up.
get to rest on our laurels over here, Michael, at the top of the podcast. The kings of the wheel.
Okay.
We could also possibly mention how like its own season. I mean,
Oh,
we did.
I mean, I
But-
did personally. If you want to
Yeah.
talk, Michael, I think I mean I
But
think you and I.
I think it very clearly should have made it into top 3.
Yeah.
With Somali, which ended up being 3rd, was my show, and I think Eizouken was a significantly better show.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where my decisions from that season, I look back on it and I go, I was a dumb little idiot who went, I like Somali my show, therefore I can't put it at 3rd because how could I ever do that? But Somali, I mean, I guess spoilers for the ending of the Somali anime for the first season that we have. It has it has the remake syndrome, which is that you don't realize that it's not going to end after 12 episodes when it feels like it's building up to end after 12 episodes for like the first 10 of them.
And it would be such a good ending.
Yeah,
So
if it-
you are ready for that show to stab you and end on a painful note, but for
And
you
then
to
it
at least
doesn't.
have an ending and you don't get it, and it's incredibly
worst.
frustrating.
That's the
Yeah.
worst.
But I also look back and go, I think Doro should have won that season. I think Doro Hedoro was a fucking wonderful show.
Understand that opinion. I fucking love it, Invaded Man. I don't.
I
know
think it's
people
also
don't
really
like
good.
it, but I really liked it.
And the issue is that then all three of those shows sit at a 9 for me. Eizouken, id, and Doro. I think I have Somali either at an 8 or a 7 right now.
I think
I
Doro
don't-
just barely isn't a 9 on my list.
I think
No,
Doro's
it is.
a
It's
very
my,
good time.
It's my lowest 9, but it is a 9 on my list.
But yeah, I don't know where it would have ended up. I mean, if it had happened that season, it probably would have ended up in 2nd place because I did put it at 1st. Now, I don't fucking know. This is literally like comparing apples to oranges with these two fucking things. They are two completely different. They are 3 completely different shows. So, like, I don't know. They all do things really good.
So are we doing who this lands on, Mason? Is
No,
the
it's
one who
last one
gets
alive.
it, or is it
That's
last
the last one alive.
One
Okay,
alive.
so
It's
the
Saber
the
Slay.
one on the wheels, the one we're watching next, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So your show is Odd Taxi,
Yes.
and my show is Terror and Resonance.
All right.
We're keeping
Let's
these
go.
shows.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it stopped so
Okay.
fast!
It's me.
Okay, we do odd,
Oh,
and this
boy.
what a good. I think this is right. I think going from Eizouken to Odd Taxi is gonna be really fun.
I agree.
I think it's gonna be really neat to see how these two like how this
From
compares.
Eizouken to Odd
Wait.
Taxi.
Okay, so
And this sets me
I-
up to be in a very odd spot where my brain is going good. That means we're scaling properly in terms of
We
of
are?
quality. That's what I think. But I also know
Okay.
that my brain saying that means that I'm putting Terror and Resonance on a very high pedestal for when we
okay,
watch
so
it.
I think we're what I'm thinking is we're scaling in intensity because so Odd Taxi is a fun time. Odd Taxi also has moments where you go,
No, this is the right take. You're right.
Oh,
You're absolutely right about this, Mason.
yeah.
We are literally going from girl gets sent into a Tomei game and deals with romance problems to anime artists make anime and struggle with
there's-
anime conflicts. A taxi driver has real life crisis along with all of his patrons
Oh.
in car, and then terrorists,
yes,
and then
and
terrorists.
then
he says.
terrorists,
yeah.
Suddenly terrorism.
and then Icelandic terrorists. Yep, yeah, it's gonna be.
God, that's the best way to fucking describe that show. God damn it.
And then terrorists.
I'm excited for Odd Taxi. I've wanted to watch
I'm-
Odd Taxi for a long time.
So I'm excited to finish Odd Taxi because I have only watched 4 episodes of it, but those 4 episodes are enough to sell me on that show.
So likely, unless we find a week that we think is like really good to do this for some odd reason, this is probably gonna be we're probably gonna do this during the break period between end of fall and the wait for the finale.
So what we could do, because I think it would be a good idea to not do our like actual podcast when John and I are going to be indisposed. we could potentially do this though that
Mostly
week.
sad.
We could consider that.
Just
Uh,
because I think even if I am not coherent and
if we have
of
enough
sound
time
mind,
to watch all of Odd Taxi in time for it.
that's the main thing.
We do also.
Yeah.
It should also be of note that for the first episode of Fall, Michael is going to be out the entirety of next Saturday until like 11 o'clock at night. So
Gotcha.
if we could, we might have to do like a Sunday Monday stream for the first episode as well, just like
Mhm.
we would for.
That actually works really well because I'm going to be out as well Saturday night.
Mhm.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, and
We
that
can
way, because we
Sunday.
will. I have the list. For those who don't know, what we're doing for the fall. Um,
Yeah.
let me. I've marked this down. So of our shows we are watching, um, and I guess I could. I guess I could do this. This will technically do the exact same thing. Yeah, this is kind of what I want, but not entirely. So you can see our show list. So we have Banished from the Heroes Party, Blue Period, Build Divide, Digimon, Faraway Paladin, Komi-san, My Senpai, Ranking of Kings, Sakugan, Takuto P Destiny, Suki Delakia, and then World's Finest Hero. But the important thing is actually the part that I have to slide over for. Ideally, these are the show's release days. They should be coming out on these days. So we have 3 Wednesday shows. We have 2 Thursdays, a Tuesday, a Sunday, and then we have 5 Saturday shows.
We have a lot of Saturdays,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like the idea being that on a regular Saturday we'll probably be fine. Maybe we'll see. We'll have to see how this goes.
Boy, can I not wait to talk for like a solid hour and a half about my shows all in a row.
We're gonna have to see about the order we're doing this season in, because it's all of us talk a lot in a row except for Dodge, who is like perfectly spaced out if we do this order. Um Man, my brain has to check something. Is this would be Blue Period into Build Divide? What a
That's a-
starsh.
That's a
We would
fucking
go
whiplash.
Banished, Blue Period, Build Divide, Digimon, and then
And then the
and then we
rest.
and then we
And then
just
actual anime.
yeah, that's wild. Um, but so we'll have to play around with our schedule, but no matter what, you should see us next week for the first episode of Fall. It's gonna be a long one. These tend to be long first episodes because we have a lot to talk about, and it's also our first opinion of the shows. Um,
At the very least, though, we don't have hour-long episodes like last season.
yeah, we won't have extended content. Um,
True.
but yeah, so this should be a lot of fun to go through for the fall. Um, I'm glad we did Eizouken, and I'm excited to do Odd Taxi when we do, and then I'm also excited to do Terror, because once we're done with Terror and Resonance, we get to start a new wave of these shows. And my brain's realized that I am pretty sure I am the only person on this podcast who has watched all of Decadence. And that's by far my next show after Terror, because that was a podcast season winner. That no one else on the podcast currently was here for. So
Okay.
I really, and that was my show. So I really excited about that one. Not enough that I'm gonna swap it for Terror, because I want to finish out and watch Terror and Resonance, because always a good time for me. But that was my next one. I was like, damn, why am I not making us watch Decadence? So I'm excited for that too. Unless my brain decides, you know what, fuck it, we all gotta watch Kageki Shoujo. We'll see what the show list looks like. Maybe I'll temper it so that, depending on how much serious and lighthearted content we have, I'll decide what I want what I want my pick to be.
I need to figure out what I want mine to be because I'm looking at my anime list, and there are not a lot of things on here that I know that the rest of us haven't watched already, or are 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Because everything on here that I really want to show people is like 23 episodes for one of the seasons.
I mean, who knows? Maybe winter 2022 will not be a good season, and we won't have content to watch for it, and we'll just have
Yeah.
time to watch other stuff. I
Yes,
doubt that.
So me and Sean can do Run with the Wind.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's long on my list that I would want to make people watch.
Yeah, there are things on like the slightly longer end.
I want to watch Snafu with the boys, but we can do that outside of podcast.
Yeah, we can watch Sakamoto with the boys.
With the boys.
I tried to get John and our friend Spoon to
I just
watch
wasn't interested.
Sakamoto.
I
last
did
night.
not
Sakamoto's so
enjoy it.
fucking good.
I just
It's
didn't enjoy
good.
it like 3 episodes in.
So it's the thing I've realized about Sakamoto is that the first few episodes kind of suck, but the last like 10
The
of them,
first episode's one of the
Oh,
greatest
I know.
fucking
It
things
is.
ever.
It
I know what
is.
mine is.
Two,
I know
two
what-
and 3 are kind of meg. Yeah, I can understand that though.
yeah,
If
but
we-
then after that, it gets so fucking funny.
Oh yeah,
if we
it's
did
so.
if we did 22, 23 episode shows and Michael's doing Run with the Wind, I would do Hyoka because I don't know how many of us have seen Hyoka. I know
I
Michael
know
hasn't.
John has.
I know Michael
John
hasn't.
has. I
Yoka's
haven't.
really good.
Yeah, I really like Hyoka, and I could use a rewatch of it to see if
I
my
could use the
opinion
season
it
2 of
changes.
it, but
Well, yes, but but either
that's
way,
a whole nother discussion.
yes, it is. Either way, though, we'll see you next time for fall, and then we'll maybe see you again, for another one of How Good Is.
How good
It
is
seems the consensus was that Eizouken is
good.
good is
Good
very
is
very
good
good.
is.
Good is an
Very good
is.
understatement.
Good
Nine,
is.
9.5, 8.5 seems pretty stellar for this group. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time.
This is